So the WNBA are not going to be happy with this. That's all I'm going to say. They are absolutely positively not going to be happy with this right here. If you guys don't know, obviously, Caitlin Clark is what you call it. She is in the she's going to be in the WNBA as part of a NBA, or I'd say NBA team on NBC. And NBC also has got WNBA games. So at the end of the day, this is something that you'd be thinking, okay, when it comes down to it, Caitlin Clark is going to be...
Caitlin Clark is the most legendary figure in all of basketball, men's or women's, past or present, according to a startling statement made by NBC's executive producer on live TV, an NBA platform, no less. The words lingered in the atmosphere. A shocking revelation directed specifically at NBC's affiliate partner, the WNBA. This was not a covert endorsement. The league and its highly protective environment were immediately incensed by this clear remark. The fallout started right once, igniting a chain reaction of incredulity and debate that no one really expected.
More iconic figure in basketball, in women's game right now, or the game in general, about Caitlin Clark. In the game in general, and that's all I gotta say is that that is not something that the WNBA will be happy with. We saw it. The WNBPA said that Alyssa Thomas was the reason why people are watching. And by the way, it's not even, people are like, oh, it was the finals about Alyssa Thomas. No. They literally said it wasn't just the playoffs, but our regular season broke records as fans went to watch Alyssa Thomas. Like, that is a statement.
The WNBA's long-standing, vehemently maintained belief that everyone must be treated equally was directly challenged by this bombshell comment from a significant broadcast partner. The league's sensitive internal politics and its dedication to group identity above individual celebrity were immediately endangered by such an overt elevation of a single player, especially one as divisive as Clark. The league's established principles and the unquestionable market power of its newest, biggest star were set up for an unprecedented confrontation that soon erupted into internal animosity and public scrutiny.
No. They literally said it wasn't just the playoffs, but our regular season broke records as fans went to watch Alyssa Thomas. Like, that is a statement. That is a statement the WNBPA had put out. I have to say that is a statement that they had put out to say that fans came to watch Alyssa Thomas instead of Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. Even if you wanted to say Angel Reese, it is what it is. I think you're allowed to say Paige Beckers if you are, because I'm pretty sure plenty of people in the media have called Paige Beckers the face of the league, and they've not gotten in trouble with the league, or they're not seen as problematic in the league. But now the NBC, the executive producer,
the WNBA had already made an extraordinary allegation. They made it clear that neither Caitlin Clark nor even Angel Reese were responsible for the record-breaking viewership, which included regular season games. NBC's audacious statement appears to have fundamentally undermined this official narrative intended to forward a particular goal, revealing a significant gap between the league's desired messaging and the realities of mainstream media recognition. The striking contrast draws attention to an ongoing internal conflict over narrative control.
Face of the league, and they've not gotten in trouble with the league, or they're not seen as problematic in the league. But now the NBC, the executive producer for NBC Sports, has basically said, yeah, there's no more relevant player, not only in the women's game. And this should be the biggest duh for the WNBA and the biggest W, that they have basically just said that a player in their league is now, in fact, the most iconic figure in basketball. This is on an NBA post. This is for an NBA show. They have just stated,
this isn't a unique incidence of selective praise. A blatant double standard is being applied. Media sources have casually referred to other well-known players, such as Paige Beckers, as the league's face, without inciting internal league resentment or charges of questionable behavior. However, when Caitlin Clark is given comparable or even more credit for her indisputable influence, It quickly becomes a source of disagreement and deep-seated animosity inside the WNBA's inner circles, exposing a profoundly rooted prejudice that still shapes opinions.
Male or female, but at the end of the day, it's what you call it. It's an obvious statement, but they're not going to be happy. You just know it. Like, people are not going to be happy, basically, with, instead of where people should be happy being like, oh my God, people are actually saying that about a women's basketball player. We're now going to be at the stage where it's like, oh yeah, you know, you've said it, you didn't say it about a women's basketball, you can't say about that women's basketball player. Now that's racist. Because saying Caitlin Clark is, you know, the most relevant person in basketball, no, that's racist. Like, oh, I haven't seen that much of it, to be fair. And to be fair,
WNBA media in particular has maintained a noticeable anti-Clark stance. Just 2 years ago, pro-Caitlin Clark media figures were frequently viewed as problematic, which was a sobering critique of the dominant narrative. This pattern persists, with analysts still using phrases like the Fever are better without Caitlin Clark, even as her presence indisputably raises viewership and engagement across the board. Such rhetoric perpetuates a contentious culture by revealing a deep-seated unwillingness to recognizing her unique significance.
That they dreamed of getting. And are calling it slaps in the face. They're getting the coverage that they've always wanted to get, and they've been, like, people are talking about it like it's, you know, like not a big thing, and like completely irrelevant because, you know, oh, maybe it's not the right person. Because it's not, you know, Caitlin Clark's not the right person. We don't care about the coverage we're getting. We're going to complain about it. We're going to call it growing pains. We're going to do everything we can because we wanted the league to grow through somebody else. But again, if that was...
The notorious Cheryl Swoops incident is a clear example of this pervasive prejudice. At first, Swoops was misquoted by a well-known media figure who implied that a lesser-known player was more crucial to the Indiana Fever than Clark. The celebrity eventually apologized in full for the misquote, while defending Swoops' underlying absurd shock remarks against Clark. This bizarre story aptly demonstrates the lengths to which some will strive to downplay or dismiss Clark's significance even when faced with factual inconsistencies.
But yeah, at least, you know, the NBA and NBC, who are, you know, covering the WNBA. And I do think that the likelihood of Caitlin Clark, if the WNBA season doesn't happen, I actually don't know what's going to happen if the WNBA season doesn't happen. I mean that. I don't know what they're going to do. I really don't know what they're going to do, because if the W season doesn't happen, it's done. Like, the league is done. Like, what happens? Do players walk the picket line? Like, there's a world where I know 98% because they want to show a united front. But if you actually...
This battle over Caitlin Clark's narrative is far from new. The story has been simmering for weeks, months, or even years. Insiders claim that every conversation about Clark's unmatched influence, her record-breaking performances, or her unquestionable drawing power seems to turn into a predictable and polarizing dispute. The weariness of this recurring debate is evident, pointing to a deeper, more ingrained resistance to change within the league. Regardless of Clark's on-court accomplishments or her overwhelming fame.
In with these WNBA CBA negotiations, because I gotta be honest here, like, the amount of millions that the WNBA players are going to lose is going to be crazy. So I wouldn't be surprised if Caitlin Clark is going to be, you know, she's prepping. People are like, oh, she's prepping for the summer job. Like, again, people don't realize that, again, if Caitlin Clark doesn't play basketball this season, Caitlin Clark will literally go. Her career will have ended at 23 years old, which is crazy, because let's be real, as relevant as Caitlin Clark is, how many people are going to be watching Caitlin Clark every single game in an
incredibly perplexing turn of events, some ridiculous Twitter accounts have even gone so far as to call any appreciation of Caitlin Clark racist. This strange claim shows how far some will go to undermine her influence by using identity politics as a weapon to downplay her unquestionable talent and groundbreaking popularity. Such unfounded accusations not only divert attention from the actual problems, but they also further polarize a fan base that ought to be applauding the sport's extraordinary expansion and increased attention, causing needless conflict. Despite receiving unheard-of attention and attractive financial offers, some sportsmen are openly ignoring these historic chances as a kick in the face. This incredible coverage, which many once only dreamed of, is now being minimized as mere growing pains. This story highlights a fundamental difference about how the league should develop and who should be given credit for its increased popularity, which fuels the continuous internal conflict and public discussion despite the league's impressive development. Some factions' underlying belief is that Clark isn't the best candidate to represent the league's expansion. It is obvious that someone else should take the lead in this endeavor. Despite Clark's apparent talent to draw this silent opposition reveals a deep-seated psychological conflict, implying that the issue is not the growth itself, but rather the person driving it, providing an impediment that threatens to derail collective progress despite new fans and increased media interest. This internal resistance, along with ongoing labor disputes, throws a dark shadow over the WNBA's future. With crucial CBA talks at a standstill, the possibility of a lockout looms large, threatening to ruin the entire season. This would not only endanger the careers of innumerable players who could lose millions of dollars, but it also runs the risk of wasting the extraordinary momentum Clark has created, pushing the league to on the verge of a potentially disastrous existential crisis. If these unsolved difficulties prevent a WNBA season from happening, the league is effectively over. The stakes are really high. However, according to people familiar with internal conversations, a startlingly small portion of players, less than 20%, are truly pro-lockout. This stark disparity between rhetoric and reality reveals a deep lack of agreement inside the league, indicating that the majority of players are aware of the disastrous consequences of a canceled season. The severe personal impact on Caitlin Clark herself should be taken into consideration while leadership works to find a solution. Should the WNBA, if the season doesn't go as planned, her career as a professional basketball player could remarkably end at the age of 23. This would be a terrible squandering of a generational talent, putting an end to her worldwide relevance at the height of her potential. The prospect of such a promising career being prematurely cut short by internal league politics and labor disputes is a sobering reminder of the fragile nature of professional sports. Her newfound celebrity would soon vanish if she didn't have the WNBA platform. Who, after all, would tune in to see Clark play in Turkey at 2 p.m. on a Monday or at obscure times elsewhere across the globe? Without a regular high-profile appearance, the casual fan base that she has so successfully charmed would probably disappear. Presence in the league. The visibility and stability that a professional colleague provides are crucial to her magnetic appeal. Thus, the current uncertainty is especially dangerous for her career trajectory. A terrible lesson can be learned from history. Even the top WNBA players who played for Russian teams were unable to attract a sizable amount of worldwide attention. This shows that without a strong, domestically televised league structure, individual star power, no matter how great, cannot sustain an audience on its own. Therefore, the WNBA's expansion rests on its own platform rather than athletes playing in remote foreign leagues, a fundamental distinction that is frequently missed in the current discussion. Thankfully, Caitlin Clark is being actively promoted by outside partners like the NBA and NBC, which are giving the WNBA the media attention and marketing boost it so urgently needs and, strangely, purports to desire. Even while internal WNBA groups continue to oppose embracing the very player who is generating this extraordinary attention, this vital support from big networks is a lifeline for the league, offering a way to broader popularity and financial stability. The paradox is astounding. Outwardly, the WNBA wants to grow and become more visible. However, it seems resistant when the player is clearly the one driving that progress. Recognized its own broadcast partner as the most iconic figure in basketball. This basic paradox exposes a deep conflict between organizational principles and pragmatic realities, impeding the league's ability to profit from its most precious asset and running the risk of a historically significant missed opportunity. There is more to this discussion than just one player. The WNBA's identity and future course are at stake. The league is at a turning point. Will it embrace the unquestionable star power that draws unprecedented media attention and millions of new viewers? Or will it continue to promote a harmful message of forced equality that could alienate its growing fan base and wasting its biggest chance for long-term expansion? The league's future is in jeopardy due to the ongoing internal conflict. The decision is clear-cut. The WNBA must choose whether to take full advantage of the unparalleled opportunity Caitlin Clark offers, utilizing the very networks that are paying to broadcast them and the millions of new viewers she brings to the sport, or it runs the risk of alienating its new audience, stifling real growth, and ultimately wasting its most important chance at mainstream relevance. The future of the league and the way it handles this crucial situation with the basketball world watching will determine the players' futures.